What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Warren. I am a banker here in London and a property investor across the UK. My goal is to live free and independently from property. So I'm looking for an income of £3,000 per month from property. If you're on the same tip as well, like, subscribe, that is what my content is all about. So today guys, I am going to take you through the steps that I took to buy 4 properties in 5 years. As you know, I own multiple investment properties here in the UK. I started my property journey when I was 31 years old. When I started, my personal goal was to own 10 investment properties. Why 10? Because it's just a solid number. It sounds good when you say I got 10 properties. That was my goal when I first started out. Now I'm at 4 and I bought my most recent property last year in 2022. So that's 4 properties in 5 years. My goal now has slightly changed. It's a bit more nuanced. I'm less focused on a number of properties to own, a number of investment properties to own, and more on an income. And that's why I say at the beginning of each video, my goal is to earn £3,000 per month from property. Why? Because when you keep saying something over and over again, it reinforces it in your mind. It kind of adds a level of accountability. You know, doing this channel every week and me saying that I need to get to that goal at some point, and I plan to get there very soon. And also it's a personal goal, so I think it's good to speak your personal goals and what you're trying to achieve out loud and pull it into the atmosphere. I'm not like a manifestation kind of person, but I believe that there is power and significance in speaking out and saying what you want to achieve over and over again. And like, why do I want to get to £3,000 per month? Why? Because guys, it's going to create free time. I want to live freely from my multiple investment properties, however many that is, whether that's 10, whether that's 5, whatever it takes to get to 3,000 per month. That's going to allow me to live freely and independently and generate an income that's relatively passive, okay, once it's all set up, and become independent and do more of the stuff that I want to do with my free time and with my life. And I'm here today sharing the steps that I took to build 4 investment properties in 5 years, because I want the same for you guys. If you're watching this channel, I'm assuming that you're on the same tip as well, that you want the same. You want an income from property to give you more freedom and to build your wealth. Just to give you some context in terms of where I started from, as I said, I started buying properties in 2017. I'd literally just come back from a year traveling, right? I'd quit my job the year before that because I was burnt out. And I just wanted more from life, right? So I said, I'm going to quit. People thought I was crazy at the time. I went traveling in Australia and New Zealand. I made it to South Africa and a few other places, a few other countries for the best part of a year. Over that time, I actually was working here and there, low paying jobs, but I also actually had debt from the previous years before that. So I was in £10,000 debt when I left, but I was like, you know what? Sod it, I'm gonna go traveling. I'll address it when I get back, okay? So I got back to the UK. I was £10,000 in debt and I had no job. And I said, okay, like I'd done some research whilst I was away. You have a lot of free time when you go traveling around the world. And I said, when I come back, what I wanna do is find a way to eventually come out of work so I can do stuff like that again, so I can go traveling again if I chose to. Or, you know, just do what I want in life and be free. And I landed on property. So got back to the UK, £10,000 in debt, no job, and I had to come up with a plan of how I was going to get to where I wanted to be. So the first thing I did to get me onto the road, onto the ladder, onto the journey of owning multiple investment properties in the UK is that I retrained into a higher paying job role. I stayed in the same industry. Luckily, the industry that I'm in, that is banking, is, you know, relatively well paid. But there are certain areas of banking, like a lot of other industries, that pay more than others. I was in a kind of mid-level paying area of banking and I wanted to switch. So I switched from where I was at the time. I was in credit risk to operational risk. I'm now in IT risk, part of banking. And that was really the foundational step that I took, increasing my income. Let's be honest guys, to buy a property here in the UK, especially an investment property, when you're gonna have to put down 25%, we're talking tens of thousands of pounds, right? Minimum. So I trained into an area, I went contracting, right? So contracting is where you work on fixed term contracts as opposed to permanent. In summary, with contracting, you get paid a higher rate in return for not having a pension, not having annual entitlement to holiday, benefits, all that kind of stuff. That was a decision that I made consciously because I was going to double, triple my salary by going contracting instead of permanent. I'm still contracting to this day. It works for me and it's allowed me to build 4 investment properties in the space of 5 years. So number one, I retrained and increased my income. Next, guys, I got out of debt. So I had a choice between starting working and saving and going straight into investing, or paying off my debts first. The reason why I paid off my debt first, my £10,000 debt, is because the interest on that, it was a credit card, was horrific. Guys, I'm talking, it was round about, I mean, it's a long time now, but I was paying round about £200-300 per month in interest alone. It was horrific, guys. So it just made financial sense for me to get out of debt first. And of course, that interest kills your amount that you're able to save and your disposable income at the end of each month. So the quicker I paid it off, the more I would be able to save and have a disposable income at the end of each month. And that took me just over a year. Linked to that, guys, was that I got onto a budget. I created a budget so that I was in a position where I was spending less than I earned every month, every year. Now that sounds really, really straightforward on the face of it, but you'll be surprised at how many people in the UK, first of all, do not have a budget, and secondly, who spend more than they earn per year. It is a huge problem, guys. Having worked in a bank, specifically in credit risk, where we specifically focus on debt and repayments, you learn very quickly, being in a bank, being in multiple banks as I've been in, that in the West especially, our economy operates on debt, guys. Governments borrow more than they can afford. Businesses borrow more than they can afford. We borrow more than we can afford. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, with credit cards and loans if they're used responsibly. But the problem that a lot of us have in this part of the world is that we don't use those means of credit responsibly, and we end up getting into debt. So you have a purchase that you want to buy, but over here we have a big issue when it comes to deferred gratification. A lot of us would much rather put it on credit, so maybe store finance, credit card, a loan, then wait, save, and then buy it when we can actually afford it, okay? That is a huge, huge issue. And then when we start introducing stuff like the cost of living crisis, when food prices go up, when the price of petrol and fuel goes up, when interest rates go up, that really tips people just straight over the edge, because they already are living on a fine line as it is. And then you raise the prices of basic goods and services that we need, essentials, people really do fall into the red very quickly. And we've seen it back end of last year and now as we speak, guys. So getting out of debt and creating a budget to do that was really the key, one of the key keys, if that's a word, for me, to getting onto the journey, onto the road of owning multiple investment properties and building my property portfolio. And then next up, guys, I already mentioned this, but it was practicing deferred gratification. Now, what is deferred gratification? That's foregoing something that you really want now and waiting, to a point in the future when you're actually able to afford it and have it, guys. It's a really good practice or discipline to have in general in terms of self-control, right? But particularly when it comes to money, very important. I'll be honest with you guys, it was hardest whilst I was saving and getting out of debt. When I did the maths and I said, right, it's gonna take me a year to get out of debt, and then it's gonna take me another year on top of that or two to actually save for a deposit. You're looking at a 2-3 year horizon. Really, really easy to say, look, you know what, that's just too long. I'll do the best I can in terms of getting out of debt, but I'm still gonna live my life and enjoy my purchases. And maybe I'll get into the property thing later on down the line, guys. It takes a lot of discipline and sacrifice to be able to do that, to practice deferred gratification. And that was something that I had to do. Now that I'm on the other side of that and I started investing, they say the first one is the hardest to do in terms of buying an investment property. Once you get one, it does become easier to buy others because you've got the rise in value of your property over time, so you might be able to take out equity, and also you've got an income coming in from your properties that you can use towards your next purchase. So deferred gratification, sacrifice, self-discipline is a huge, huge one, guys. And then lastly, in terms of the steps that I took to own multiple investment properties in the UK, was that I started buying properties in affordable areas of the UK. I'm out of debt, I'm in a job where I have increased my income, I'm on a budget, so I'm spending less than I earn, I'm saving, but affordability is still an issue, right? One of the biggest barriers to people just in the UK in general buying houses is the deposit. House prices in this country are so high that many of us are prevented from getting onto the ladder. We could probably afford the mortgage, but we can't afford the deposit because the prices are so peak. So me, I went up north, specifically to the northwest, but obviously the north is a huge area. There's lots of different regions, cities, towns that you can go to. And I started buying properties around about the 100k mark that were affordable to me, that I could invest in and build a portfolio. You know, that's the key reason why I invest up north as opposed to down south in London. If I was investing down south in London, I'll probably have one property as opposed to 4, just because of the price range, all right? So those were the specific steps that I took to build a portfolio of properties of 4 in 5 years. Let me know in the comments what steps you take, okay? What you've been doing that's worked for you in terms of building your portfolio. Or let me just know where you are on your journey so far. Like and subscribe for the algorithm, guys. And I'll see you on the next one.